Welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation.
Welcome back to the Peggy Smedley Show. We are coming to you live from CES in Las Vegas. And my next two guests are really going to talk to us a little about what's happening in IoT and energy. And I'm joined here by Hendrik van Asbroeck. He's with the managing director of ENGIE, and also Henri Bong, who's the CEO and founder of UnaBiz. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, you're going to need to talk really loud because all of a sudden we're going to hear a lot of noise in the background, so we need to make sure you both talk up on here. So first of all, I'd love for you to tell our listeners, if you wouldn't mind so much, Hendrik, what is ENGIE, so our listeners know a little bit about the company.
Okay, so ENGIE is an energy company with a headquarters in Paris.
Love Paris.
Yeah,
was just there
a
year ago.
So next time we do it out of Paris. But,
no, would love that.
So we are headquarters in Paris, active in 70 countries, and our activities are mainly energy, electricity, gas, and energy services. So that's our main business. And the vision of the group is that we want to be an energy leader in the energy transition world. So we are transforming the company into a company which is focused on clean energy, decentralized energy, energy services, everything which has to do with smart energy services. So that's what we're doing at this moment, and that's also what we're presenting at CES.
Well, let's talk about that then. So your interest now in the IoT is specifically, talk about that.
Yeah, so maybe coming back to that point, so we are interested in IoT because for us IoT is an enabler. So if you want to do smart energy and smart energy services, IoT is an enabler and helping to follow objects in the house, at the companies. And so in that sense, we have like rather an indirect interest. But by coincidence, we also have a venture capital fund. So I'm heading the innovation department of ENGIE. And there we have a venture capital fund, and we came across a company called Sigfox, which is a French company building low power area networks. And we invested in that company, and in that sense we got interested in IoT, and after that we invested into some network operators developing IoT solutions, and by doing so we saw that with this kind of technology we could offer new kind of services to our end customers.
And Sigfox has been doing a lot in trying to develop more companies understanding how the Internet of Things can really go into a lot of different areas, which is now what you're trying to do, and seeing that there's a lot of benefit in energy and growing Internet of Things and expanding on its vision for connecting people, homes, cities, communities, right? I mean, that's what your ultimate goal is.
That's our ultimate goal. So, and you're right to talk about all the topics. It's not only about residential customers, it's not only about B2B, but it's also connecting people in the city. So it's creating the whole community. And for us, energy is linked to that topic. But as I said, the IoT itself is the enabler which helps us connecting these people, and which helps them in creating another experience in using energy and in using energy services.
And you look at that, you're really humanizing, you're digitizing all of this together when you think about what an energy company does, because if you think about that overall, it touches on so many things, correct?
Right. If today you think about energy, the problem is that energy is today abundant and all around, so people are not even realizing how many times they come in contact with their energy supplier. But if you look at all the evolutions going on, for instance, in the house, then you can see that by making it smarter, you can make them more valuable to the end customer, and you can also deliver new kind of services. For instance, if they would have like an electrical car, charging the car can be more smarter done, it can be a better interface with the end customer, and IoT can help in that perspective.
So in some ways, there are things that you're already doing in IoT. If you think about it, if you think about the energy role that you play, you probably have smart energy things already with what you're doing. Would that be a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement, and today it's mainly done by Wi-Fi or other kind of solutions into the house. Our idea is that we need a stronger centralized vision on what kind of services we want to do, and we need to increase the quality of that kind of experience. Today, people are confronted with too many interfaces, so we can make that easier. And for instance, what we saw in the solutions we develop on the basis of the Sigfox technology is that they can be much easier. Objects could be connected automatically when they are bought and when they come into the house, and so that would make the experience much more user-friendly.
So now you have a partnership, I think, or an investment now, and that's why Henry's here, what you're doing with UnaBiz. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is, or should I wait and have Henri tell us a little bit what UnaBiz is? How do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so maybe one small additional point is we are an investor in UnaBiz, like you say. UnaBiz is a network operator of the Sigfox technology in Taiwan and in Singapore. And what we want to do together with them is develop new kind of solutions. So they're not only the network operator, they'll develop also solutions for the end customers. So maybe Henri can talk a bit more about that.
Thank you, Hendrik. I think you said everything. But so the thing is that we started UnaBiz in Singapore and Taiwan as a Sigfox network operator. So we build up the technology so that the infrastructure so that people can connect objects on it. The advantage of a Sigfox technology is mainly that it's a low power wide area network. So a lot of people have been speaking about the LP1, and this LP1 technology is interesting because it's very low cost. It's very simple to connect. It's basically not even plug and play. It's just use it. It's already on the network, and it works anywhere on a global network, where seamlessly in Singapore, Taiwan, France, or in US. And that's the beauty of this global network that Sigfox has built. From this technology, what UnaBiz has done, which is pretty unique, is that we have chosen two territories. One is Singapore, which is famous to be a showroom of technologies, a test bed for new technologies and new use cases, and we chose Taiwan. Taiwan has an incredible ecosystem of electronics, and they are really helping us, supporting us to provide low-cost sensors, low-cost hardware, which we believe today is still a big barrier to embrace IoT in a massive way. Availability and cost of the hardware today is an issue. So by having this ecosystem in Taiwan today, we are developing solutions with partners like ENGIE, but we have also many other industrial MNCs who are asking us to develop their solutions. We then export these solutions from Asia to the rest of the world. And today, UnaBiz, in just two years and a half, we are providing solutions in more than 25 countries. 25 countries, mainly in Europe and in Asia Pacific for the moment, but we hope to come to US more.
Well, when you talk about sensors and you talk about low power, it's very critical when we talk about all the things you want to connect. Again, when we talk about smart cities, we talk about energy. We talk about the things that we want in connecting people to their energy utility services. Those are the low power that you want, because you don't need a high power cellular things in a lot of that. And that's what we're really talking about. So being able to do a partnership with Taiwan or something that you're discussing makes a lot of sense, correct?
Exactly, and using this kind of technology make not only the cost but also the battery life of this kind of sensors much longer. We can basically put temperature sensors or environmental sensors just with a small lithium battery behind, which can last for 5 to 8 years without recharging them, without wiring them, because the need of these kind of little sensors are really different from what's traditional technologies like Wi-Fi or cellular technologies are proposing, which is we're using a lot of energy and which is having a higher cost.
And those costs that you talk about in longer life, which talk 5, 8 years in battery life in a sensor, makes a lot of sense when you're talking about the things that you have, not to be able to have to go and repair it, go and to look at it for things that you might be using. And it makes a lot of sense for the things that you're talking about to have a partnership, an investment in. Is that correct?
That's correct, and I think it's even broader than what you say, in a way that, of course, we start to look at this kind of a technology from an energy perspective, because that's our business. But by having invested into this technology and by having worked together on the field, we also see that it unlocks quite a lot of other opportunities. And what you say is correct. It is energy friendly, so low energy consumption, but also relatively cheap. So in that sense, it brings down the cost to a certain level where new kind of applications can be developed which haven't been expected before. So it's not only about the technology, it's also about the costs. To give you an idea, today we get a lot of questions also on track and trace solutions, so which have officially they have nothing to do with electricity consumption, but there are customers of us which we supply with energy and energy services. And now by having this communication technology, they ask us for other kind of solutions like track and trace solutions to find back their pallets, to find back some goods they transport all over the world. And one of the other things, like Henri said, is that because it is so seamless that there is no connection needed with a specific network, with a specific network operator, we are even able to send around these goods around the world and trace them all over the world. So even if we sell the kind of solution in a specific country, we can develop worldwide solutions, which is very interesting for a group like ours, which is active in 70 countries.
So even in looking at track and trace and the traceability of the solutions you're talking about, you can do those in logistics, supply chain, a whole host of industries, the last mile delivery, kind of things that you might be looking at that right now you're not able to do, but going down opens up so many more opportunities for what you might want to do in building new cities, most rural areas and in cities that you're talking about.
That's correct, and to give you a concrete example, we are a supplier of energy towards different ports. The ports, they have talked to us about IoT solutions. As we have them in the portfolio, they start talking about IoT solutions within the port. Of course, there are lots of ships coming in with goods which are transported all over the world, so now we're in the track and trace of international goods. So it opens up new opportunities which you haven't expected. And in that sense, I believe that the connected world is pretty close, and that this kind of international low power area networks that they are a big future, and that they can deliver new kind of services which weren't even able to deliver a couple of years ago.
Do you see a lot of new innovation opportunities coming out? Do you have more hubs, like think tanks that you hope to develop, where you're looking at that you hope to have for the development of sensors and things like that as a part of this, with what you might be doing with Sigfox and things that you're hoping there?
You're speaking about think tank?
The idea of coming up with new ideas, you know, development of solutions, so to speak.
So, I'm a strong believer that 80% of the use cases and sensors which will do these billions of devices that everybody is speaking about in the next 5 years are not even invented yet. So we believe that it's extremely important to work with industrial players like ENGIE in order to understand the needs of the new devices that we need to develop, and that's what we have started to do. I wanted to give an example. We launched recently a business unit on aeronautics, and we have been working with ENGIE services in Asia Pacific in order to cover Changi Airport, one of the biggest airports in the world, with many sensors to test environmental conditions, but also doing track and trace solution. They have assets management to do, they have equipment tracking. We are even starting to track the luggage and doing this kind of tests with the airport. These are really partnership that we can do only if we have industrial players who knows what the end user needs.
So you're really looking at, there's so many things that can happen that you don't even know what is yet to be developed, is what you're saying. Are there new projects underway that you can talk about that you're actually doing right now?
Yeah, we can. For instance, in Belgium we have a project on something which seems to be relatively easy, but we had a question of water companies to supply smart water meters in a way that they wanted to have a water meter which was installed into the house, which had an autonomy of over 20 years without any electricity connection towards any internal grid. And where they want to supply additional services like leakage detection and all that kind of thing. So we are deploying that kind of a solution within Belgium today. We are in a testing period today, which is almost finished, and which we will deploy in certain cities in the country, that kind of a solution. And so the water companies will replace the existing water meter with the smart meter. People will not realize that it has been changed, but in one way, from one day to the other, they will realize that they can have other solutions. They can close and open the valve from a distance. They can manage their water consumption, and they can learn how to reduce their water consumption. We can do the same on the energy side. So these are kind of solutions what we were developing at this moment in time.
And we talk about the need right now in energy consumption, water, because we have water shortages and things like that. We can change the dynamic globally of where we have water shortages and supplies to better apply water and other energy, right? In time, isn't that where we could do things and change what we're doing as consumers?
Yes, and well, I'm not English speaking, but I'm Dutch speaking. But in Dutch, we have this saying that measuring is knowing, and so in one way or the other, the IoT will help people to become more aware of what they consume, as well in energy as in other kind of supplies. So and when they measure, they can learn how to reduce, and then we can put back on the back end, we can put the intelligence, we can put some AI models and that kind of stuff, and we can help people in reduce their energy consumption. So it is, as I said in the beginning, it is an enabler. And so it's not so strange that an energy company is interested in communication and in connectivity, because the enabler makes new kind of services available.
Are there any challenges that you foresee with the partnership or what your investment in IoT in general? We've been talking about the Internet of Things for over a decade. It seems only now it's starting to really come to fruition that we're seeing some real benefits that are affordable. But
for us, the biggest challenge is as going into new technologies is always a bit harder than what was expected in the beginning.
yes,
We started our trajectory on connectivity more or less 5 years ago, with an estimation that the breakthrough would be 2 years later. We see that it is a bit later, so the take-up is slower than what we would have expected. It's not because of a lack of interest, but it's rather a lack of integration into existing systems and that kind of a thing, which is always a bit more complex than expected. But the big challenge is, when will it really break through? From what we see into the market, I think it is closer than what we thought 6 months ago. So we're delayed a couple of years, but it's coming now, and I think in the next months we will see a big uptake. I don't know, Henri, how you see that from your region, but that's what we see.
What I want to say on that is that if IoT has not happened in the speed that we would have expected, I believe it's because a lot of companies have spoken about IoT, but not taking it from end to end. IoT in itself is the value chain of IoT is something which is quite complex, because you have to go from a hardware to something which is connected, and you have to go to software to a platform for analytics and until the end application. And very little company actually is looking at IoT from end to end. They are like specialized in a platform analytics things, but they don't know how to collect the data. Or some others are collecting the data, but they don't know which platform they are going to use. So it's very important. I always say that IoT needs collaboration. We need really the big players and the startups which are coming into IoT with new ideas and new sensors and new platform to collaborate and really study case by case what the final users need.
so the ecosystem is so very critical, and over the years it's lacked a really good ecosystem. It can't be an all or one company. There has to be really good players that come together, that see success will only be achieved if the ecosystem is fully operational. No one company can do it all. Despite what we might see Amazon or Google thinking that they can do it all, it's never going to succeed by just one company, or an Apple. As Apple's learning now, they have to open things up, right?
Or a telco, or a sensors manufacturer, or they all are just doing one part of the whole value chain. So what we have done in UnaBiz when we started 2.5 years ago, we spent 1 year developing this ecosystem, signing MOU partnership with each one of this value chain block, and today we are proud to say that we are working with more than 300 different partners. There are institutional partners, semiconductor, professional. We have SI who are integrating the solutions, hardware manufacturer from Taiwan. We have a lot of different verticals expertise from different companies who are dedicated to a certain industry, and all together it's like piece of puzzles that we are putting together when we solve a IoT use case and provide a total solution.
You've seen now the cellular companies have to change, and they've had to dramatically change their models. Is that a surprise to you, and that's why organizations like Sigfox have had to emerge? Because we've seen a change of thinking in the cellular arena. Have you seen that yourself?
I mean, I can speak about that because I used to work with telcos. So when you're in the telco industry, the only thing that you are seeing is connectivity and how you can leverage on the network that you have built to sell the higher ARPU, the average revenue per user or per SIM card. So we are always thinking about the ARPU. We are always thinking about ARPU, but IoT is very different from voice or lease line or fiber optics. IoT is about thousands of different kind of sensors which will provide solutions, solve problems for thousands of different kind of use cases. So you can't sell a solution in the same way. You really have to customize it and to understand the end customer problem. And this is something that the telcos have not been used to do. So they are learning now. There are a lot of the biggest guys, the biggest telcos now are creating vertical expertise within their team, hiring people who are coming from the industry, trying to solve their problem. But it's new. It's something new.
I would just add, taking it out of the context a little bit, is that the disruption is often out of the box thinking. So yes. The disruption is quite a lot out of the box thinking, and in that way, that's also why a group like ours, we have decided to do a venture capital fund, because the out of the box is often done in smaller companies. On the other hand, the smaller companies, they have this big challenge of reaching a big market, and they are just a limited team. So they have these good ideas, they have this good kind of technologies development, but it's very difficult for them to reach internationally towards the outside world and to grow, or they have to raise a lot of money. So in that sense, we are a corporate venture investor, and we approach this in a way that we look for these new kind of technologies, we invest in them, and then we help them to grow them internationally. And in that sense, I think the out-of-the-box thinking is very important. And it's not one or the other. I think the big groups are doing interesting stuff, but there is a lot of interesting things done in startups. So that's what we do.
I think that's a very important point that you make, because it's organizations like yours who say, if we don't do that, nothing would happen. It would be stymied like how the industry has been. You have to be the ones that say, we're going to make the investment because that's how we're going to make the transformative disruption positive in a real aggressive way. Otherwise, it's a negative disruption.
That's correct, and you also have to adapt your mindset a little bit in a way that the outcome is not always very clear. So for instance, we went 5 years ago, we started looking at IoT, we went in. Where we are today is different than what we would have expected. I'm not saying it's good or bad, I think it changes. So the first ideas were different than what we did afterwards. The market was a bit slower than what we would have expected. Today we are very happy because we see some takeoff of what we invested in, but you have to be agile, and that's also part of the trajectory what you need to do. On the other hand, we learned so many things on communication and connectivity which we didn't know before, and as I said before, it helps us in developing new products and services which are very much linked to our business.
You just made a very important point. You have to be very agile in digital transformation in the IoT, and that's the point where we're going to end on. Gentlemen, all right, Hendrik van Asbroeck, and I have the managing director of ENGIE and
head of innovation of ENGIE. Yes.
All right, head of innovation, and Henri, the CEO and founder of UnaBiz. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We spent a lot of time talking about the IoT and where it's going, and it's been a great discussion, but we need to wrap up, but we've got one more segment coming here, right here from CES 2019. Right here on the Peggy Smedley Show, and it's been exciting. So if you want to tweet at us, certainly tweet at us at ConnectedWMag. We certainly want to know anything that you want, and also certainly this is the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation. And remember, with great technology comes great responsibility. We'll be right back after this short break.